All right, folks. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. As Justin pointed out, I have an opening video and a trailer, and I'm working on the sound for both of those things so I don't deafen anybody. So apologies if that first one is a little bit too noisy for you. We are here to talk about the ACA 915. I hope I got that number right. All these numbers are confusing me. This is for Atlassian Cloud Foundations. So this is one of the associate level certifications Atlassian offers, and it's intended to give us a good overview of how the cloud products are structured, how we get support for them, and just kind of how they work. So this session may be a little bit less hands-on than we're used to in these sessions, just because we'll be talking more about concepts and where to get help. That said, we will be jumping into things like the Support Center and Atlassian Community just to see what those look like and how those options can help us out. So as usual, we're going to start with some slides. Again, there'll be a lot more concepts on this one maybe than others. Chad, good morning. Double exclamation points. It must be a very good day for you. I have to make one quick update. All right. Daria, welcome. Good to see you. And we are just going to pop over to some amazing slides that hopefully don't have too many typos. Oh, I forgot my head. There we go. So, quick introduction. My name is Rob. I've had a career in information technology working on various systems. I started out as the guy who would deliver your monitor. That was the first thing I ever did in IT. It was a very big, heavy CRT, cathode ray tube. Very big. So I'm glad we get these little flat panels. Beth, welcome. Good to see you. Chad, yes, it is a good day. I've been using Atlassian products since about 2013. Frank, good afternoon. Hope everything is okay across the pond. And I'm what's called an Atlassian certified practitioner, so I hold a professional series certification, and we're practicing for those every Monday. So if you're curious about the professional level stuff, join me on this channel Mondays. I also have a couple of the ACAs, and I'm working my way through all of them. And so I started these study sessions because I don't have a lot of time between family and work and everything else. So I figured I would do these live to learn myself, but also help others out. So be on the lookout for other certifications and check the channel playlists. I've got some on prior ones that I've done, like the 900 and 920. Sarah, good morning. Good to see you, my friend. Also, I've never been an org admin. I've never had that highest level org access in an actual instance. In my own test instances, yes. But my experience with Atlassian products has always been as the user. So just an average, normal person. I don't have any superpowers. Please use the chat. It's right over my left shoulder to your right. Some of you have already found it. Scott, welcome, my friend. But please use it to interact with other people. But please use it also to ask questions or to clarify things. YouTube is great because you can all see and hear me, but I can't see and hear you. So please use the chat to ask questions, clarify things, share information, or even answer someone else's question. One thing I am learning is I don't know everything, and I'm being reminded of that, and it's a great thing to keep in mind because it helps me grow and learn, and it's also great chances for all of you to help each other, and that is a big part of learning. If you can teach something or explain something to someone else, you're going to remember it so much better than if you just hear some guy on the internet talk about it. Would love to hear that, Frank, in the chat. Also, you can save this video, but please also share it if someone else will find it interesting. And also like and subscribe. That lets me know that you enjoy and appreciate this content. I do also have a survey I'll share at the end just asking what else we should learn or what other topics you would like to hear about. I will do my best to keep coming up with stuff, but I would love to hear more about what you want to know. A very quick agenda. We'll start with our kind of level set of why are we here and different reasons people want to learn this stuff. And then we'll dig right into our different ways we can get support in our cloud products. We'll talk about things like Atlassian Community, but we'll also talk about some other, not features, resources that I did not know exist. So one of the reasons I do this is to learn more. And so I learned about things like the Support Center and the release blog and access to partners and things like that. So we will dig into all of these both conceptually and then jump into them hands-on so we can see what they look like. Now, this is going to set us up to take that ACA 915 exam. So if you are working towards that or want to take it, this is the breakdown of the kinds of questions you'll see. So you'll get about 28% of questions around the community and your support options. The biggest chunk of this exam, though, is information on the products and integrations. So if you are sitting the exam soon and you're super nervous, You may want to focus on the products and integrations just because that's over half of the exam questions. And even if you aren't taking the exam, you'll still find useful information in here. But today we're just going to focus on this middle chunk of the community and support. My first question for the group, though, is why are you interested in the course? Or why are you interested in this certification? Or why are you here? And this is an important question because it will help at least you understand your own motivation. And if you do want to take that exam or you want to learn something, it'll help you kind of refresh your motivation and drive. And there is no wrong reason to want to do this. And you don't have to share it, but just be aware internally, take a minute to reflect and understand why are you investing time and effort and energy in learning about Cloud Foundations? What is it going to do for you? And as I mentioned, there's no wrong reasons. There are some general buckets I tend to think of. One is skill building, and honestly, this is why I am here. As I've learned Atlassian stuff, I only learn the parts that I happen to use. And so this helps me fill in those gaps. You could also do this for validation, though. Maybe you want to prove to yourself that you know this stuff. Chad would like to expand into an admin role, and my giant fat head is in the way. Excuse me. I thought I'd fixed all those. So you may have some goal at your work or a future job that you want to expand and learn and get that position. They also prove to others you know something, which can be useful, again, if you're looking for work or something like that. Justin's here because he likes these sessions. I really appreciate that, Justin. Thank you. Now, if you do want to take that this certification or any other one, you might want to write down why you're doing it and put it somewhere you can see it or remind yourself of it all the time. Because again, that will help motivate you. You'll see that and go, yes, I do want to learn this, or yes, I do want that better job, or yes, I do need to, prove to myself I've got what it takes, whatever it is. Frank, there are always blind spots. Yes. And this is, again, my why. I want to expand my knowledge so I don't have as many blind spots. We always have them. So jumping into our content, our first question is, are you in the Atlassian community? And for the purpose of this question, this refers to the website called community.atlassian.com. We will jump into this hands-on in a little bit, but we will just talk about what it is and why it's there. My own experience with this, I didn't know it was a thing until I was Googling for answers, and I just started tripping over different web pages that were part of this Atlassian community thing. And then I eventually joined it, and I think I have 5 different accounts at this point that are just floating around there. And I'll talk about some of the challenges with the community as we go. Lots of yes. Frank linked his account. I'll explain what that means in a moment. The Atlassian community is it's Atlassian's official place to go to get resources and support for their products and the things that they do. It's broken into some major pieces. So we've got the forums, which is what I usually think of when I think of the community. And that's where we go to see blog posts or product updates or share questions or get answers. And that's how I found it, because that was the Google search. But there's also Atlassian Learning. This used to be called Atlassian University. They recently rebranded it. And that's where all of their trainings are now free. So if you're curious about their products, the official training is all there. It's all 100% free. And they've recently, I think they actually built their own learning management platform, which is really cool and tells me they really invest a lot in this stuff. So definitely worth checking out. We'll explore that towards the end. But they also have events, and you're actually in one of them right now. You may have found this session through Atlassian Community Events, ACE. These events, though, can also be live. So there are local chapters run by people called champions, and that's the last bucket here, where you could go to a conference center in your local town or city and learn and talk about and meet people. So these are the main areas in it. The forums, again, are what I think of when someone mentions it. My head. Sorry, I'll just put it over here. When someone mentions the community, I just assume they're talking about the forums. And that's because that's where I get most of the use. It's broken down by topic and product. And that's important to keep in mind, because when we think of Atlassian, we think it's just, oh, they make Jira and they make Confluence. They have a lot more products. You can see a small list here. There's Bitbucket and Rovo and Trello and product discovery and Align and Compass and Loom and Talent and all this other stuff. But they also have it broken down by like geographical region and other things. And we actually have a champion in the house. Chad, I'll put you on the spot in just a few slides, my friend. The forums are the best place to go to ask questions. You can just put in a post saying, hey, I have a problem setting up this automation in Jira, or I don't understand how the free tier works. Here's what I've tried. And then other people can see that and answer it. So it's a great way to share that asynchronous information, or to read posts about how people are doing things, or even share how you are doing things. So it's always good to give back and share, hey, here's how I figured out these challenges. And now, again, I mentioned the learning section, and this is where it's all free learning by Atlassian. So this is when I have questions about how something works, this is the first place I go. The thing to keep in mind about Atlassian learning, and this is my description and my words, it is sterile or generic, and it kind of has to be. They build their learning to show you what the button does and what happens when you push it, and they try and guide you on different ways on how to use it or why, but every organization will be slightly different, and there will be ways to use the tool that Atlassian doesn't include in here for some reason. So it is an amazing starting point and a great place to go for that source of truth. How does Atlassian say this works? Or I have a technical question. But keep in mind there are other ways the system can operate and other things that happen. Now, sorry, I'm confused why Chad is building a wall. Now, if you're looking to take certification exams, this is where you'll find all the information on those. And so we'll explore that. We'll take a look at the ACA-915, what we're learning about right now in Atlassian Learning. But this is where you can go for on-demand recorded stuff, live training, kind of like this, or even in person, and then information on the different certifications Atlassians offer. But again, all free, great resource. Community is... I default to thinking community is all the in-person stuff, but it also includes hybrid events. I actually helped with one of these with our friends over in the Trello community. I set up a live stream for them. They had people come in person, and they also had 100 people show up online, and virtual ones. This training is an ACE, an Atlassian community event. And so about 2 years ago, we started offering a lot more virtual trainings to give more information and to involve more folks. Oh, you mean literally building a wall, Chad. Got you. Okay. And so you can go in here and you can find local events. And Justin, I'll challenge you, my friend. Why don't you do a Detroit event? What's stopping you? I mean, maybe many things, but this is something, if you're curious and interested and you don't have a local chapter or event, you can see about getting involved in driving one. And so the people who run a lot of these are essentially all volunteers or people who are interested. Atlassian does provide a lot of support in terms of information and resourcing to help you do these events. But local folks can step up and say, hey, there's no community near Detroit. I'm using Justin as the example. I would like to be part of this and I would like to drive one. Now, these are a lot of fun, and I like the in-person ones. I've only honestly... I've been to 2 in-person and then 2 team, the giant conferences. But for me, a lot of this is about meeting people. And some of the best connections I've made at work are talking to people and sharing what I know about, happens to be Atlassian systems. So if there are local events near you, these are great ways to learn, to share knowledge, and to get help with challenges you might have about, say, moving from data center to cloud. Or how does premium work, or all these different questions. Now, this is a bit of a loaded question, but how familiar are you with Atlassian Success Central? And a 1 is not at all, and a 5 is very. Frank, I appreciate that pun, my friend. I may hijack that one. I didn't really talk about champions. All right, when we get to the website, I'll dig more into champions, or what we used to call community leaders. Sean, a 1.7. I love when people start using the decimals on me here. 1. Chad actually knows about it. Chad, you might have to lead this section of this training. Now, I'm laughing, and I appreciate there's a lot more 1s, because I did not know this existed. until I set up these slides. Daria, another one. And I also appreciate that folks are comfortable saying, I don't know anything about that. It's very important in our learning and as we think about how we improve and expand that we can raise our hand and say, I don't know. And for many people, that can be really hard. For me, I teach martial arts classes and I try and train my students to raise their hand and say, I don't know the answer. So I appreciate you all being honest and with yourselves and comfortable saying, I don't know this thing. Sean, is this recently renamed? I don't know. I will. I'm more comfortable saying that. I need to go look this up because, again, this to me was entirely new. So this is a win for me. I learned about it. It's got lots of best practice on Atlassian products. And so this goes beyond the technical, how does this thing work? And we'll explore this live, but it's also best practice or helps you find solutions for things. So it's not like a manual I'm used to on the IT side, where it's explaining the technical specifications of Jira. It's more different ways to use it. And there's a lot of work Atlassian does outside of their tools, like their technical things, the Jiras and Confluence, in terms of how teams can work better together and support each other. And so this site has a lot of that stuff. Now, there's also Atlassian's documentation, and this is their official documentation on their products. So for me, as someone who's a little bit more in depth as an admin, Frank, I'll have to follow up on is that rebranded? This is another great resource. I can come in here and I can search through the official documentation. So in the same way the official training is on Atlassian Learning, in here in Atlassian support documentation is the official documentation for something. So the first place I go when I have a question, someone at work says, hey, why doesn't this do what I want? I'll check both community and then I'll come in documentation and start digging through. And you'll see in this screenshot, we've actually got, it broken down by product. So you can browse through here and take a look. Typically when I go through documentation, I have keywords or a specific thing I'm looking for. I'm just thinking back to my first job and I had a printed binder of the documentation for a system we worked with. So I'm really glad all this stuff is online now. Progress. Now, when we think of cloud, when we think of any system, we're going to have a lot of releases coming out. And for on-premises systems like data center, we have a little bit more control over which releases we're going to choose. For example, your organization may choose to be a few versions behind the latest release just to make sure it's stable. Or maybe there is something about a specific release your organization doesn't like. It's non-compliant in some way. Sean still has a closet full of documentation binders. That is kind of amazing, my friend. If you're not in our Discord, we have a live chat through a Discord server. And if you're comfortable sharing a picture of a closet full of old documentation binders, that might be a fun thing to put in our horror stories channel, where we share horror stories about the IT world. Every system has some kind of release. Now, with cloud, we don't control the release we're on. So if we're considering differences in what could change between cloud and data center, one of them is we can't say, hey, we don't want this particular release. There will be some instances where we can turn on a feature early. For example, the new UI, we had the option of enabling it. However, at some point, it's just going to be forced on. There will be some features we can control, we can configure and say we want blogs or we don't want blogs. But in general, everyone on cloud is using the same everything compared to data center, which is different. And so that's where this release blog is really important. It's also, if anyone's read it, it just goes on and on and on. It's like every tiny thing. They fixed a typo on a certain screen. Like, great, do I need to know about this? So it can be hard to break down and understand, but it is an important resource that we need to keep in mind. I've subscribed to this somehow through email. I forget what I clicked on. So I'll just take a quick look and see, hey, what's the big stuff coming down the pike? So I can be aware and I can let my team know, here are the changes. Now, the next one is the roadmap. And this is what's up and coming. The trick with a roadmap is it can always change. I work with a lot of product teams who don't like publishing roadmaps for that exact reason. So when we see something pop out on the roadmap, we can be reasonably sure we're going to get that thing around the time frame they suggest. However, it's always possible that something happens, they have to deprioritize it or move it around. But this cloud roadmap is the best place to go for what's coming up soon. The release blog is what just came out. Don't forget about release tracks. I will express my own ignorance here, Frank, and would love to learn more about release tracks. This is that release blog that I mentioned. It lists every release for every product. And this is where, when you go into it, it's very overwhelming. They do have these links at the top that let you skip to a certain product. So I tend to skip to Jira, Jira Service Management, and Confluence. But it's just very long. There's so much stuff going on at Atlassian, and they cram it all into this one update. That honestly, I'll take a look at it for a few minutes and then I'll kind of forget it exists, which is probably not the best approach. Ooh. So as I mentioned at the start, I am not a org admin. I've never been in that position of managing an Atlassian instance of any kind for a large org. So Frank, thank you for pointing this out. On Enterprise, you can define when you get specific updates. I'll have to go dig into that and tinker with it. I think usually I happen to be on Premium anyway. So that's a good thing to remember. On Enterprise, apparently, we get a little bit more control over releasing. I am also very curious, as bigger organizations join cloud, how we get more and different options to manage and control it. Excuse me, just 1 minute. Because historically, cloud has just been for everyone, and typically, SMB, small mid-sized business, or maybe mid-market. But as we get the giant organizations coming that need more control over things, I would love to see more control and granularity for this kind of stuff, so admins really can pick and choose what is best for their org and not just have it forced down. Ooh, maybe also premium. And again, that roadmap is the upcoming features. The thing to keep in mind is it's subject to change. So this for me is more interesting, and it's an indication of what Atlassian is trying to commit to. But I wouldn't, bet my job on any one of these things coming out necessarily. I would just be aware, hey, we should be getting the ability to rename groups soon. Awesome. Well, in this case, we got it back in 2023, but we can go through here and figure this out. Now, though all the resources we spoke about up until now are self-service, anyone can go in and dig through the release log or go onto community. There are the Atlassian partners, they're called, and these are third parties, other organizations that work on Atlassian stuff. And some of these partners do things like build marketplace apps. So Aura, for example, makes some great add-ons and apps that you can install in Confluence to make visually pleasing pages or improve how tables work. There are other partners, though, called solution partners, that help you figure out how to move from data center to cloud, or train your team, or improve what's going on. Thank you for digging into that, Justin. Release tracks. Oh, interesting. I will definitely bug you in the Discord about what that looks like. Now, the trick with the partners is usually you pay to get access to them. And that's where larger organizations will probably have some kind of partner that they work with, that they go to for bigger questions. Again, uplifting from data center to cloud, or shifting from data center to cloud, or going from premium to enterprise, for example. So these are resources that exist. It's just a big step up from everything else we've spoken about. Now, I've mentioned this marketplace thing a couple times. This is where we can go to get apps to extend Atlassian products. We'll take a quick look at this maybe towards the end. But this is where we can get more features and functions. Again, I mentioned Aura. This lets us make pages more visually interesting in Confluence. There are other ones that expand scripting options in Jira. Others that let us integrate other systems, Slack or Microsoft Teams. There's a huge range of them. There are also free and paid ones, but they all have free trials, so you can go in and try them out for a while. Of course, just be careful your team doesn't get too used to the free trial, and then you're stuck having to go pay for this thing or trying to find a way to fit into your budget. My challenge with Marketplace is when I started using Jira and Confluence, I didn't realize that there were apps. So I got used to using it a certain way, and then I moved jobs, and I was very frustrated that it couldn't do the same stuff. So just be aware if your organization uses marketplace apps, the next place you end up may not have them. And these also change. So just like Atlassian itself is improving their own products, the marketplace apps themselves will get updates or will have feature changes or things will occur to them that may disrupt or make it hard to use or change how your team needs to use it. All right, I'm nearing the end of my slides, but I do need y'all's help, your help. This QR code goes to a survey, and I'll drop a link in our chat just to help me understand how I can do better with what I'm calling the Atlassian study community, but also what you want to learn. So if you have a moment, I'd appreciate you filling it out. It's 4 non-required questions. So if you want to skip one, that's totally okay. But I'm constantly looking for how do I improve this and make it better. For example, for this session, the 915, I built out a little Google Forms quiz that I'll share. Midwestine, yeah, I think that's the y'all. I know there's a difference between y'all and all y'all. I just forget what it is. Where did my 915 quiz go? I'll figure that out as I keep going. So would love your feedback if you have a moment. And here is my reminder to teleport into the wide world of Atlassian. So I was last talking about the marketplace, so we'll just start there. Marketplace.atlassian.com. And again, this is where all of the marketplace partners, the developers essentially, who create additional products will post them. And so just scrolling down, I can browse through. And I can see, some have this nice spotlight. There's a bestseller. Okay, cool. But I can also search for them in here. So I might type in something like scripting. And I have one that is just scripting. I'm not quite sure what that means. But if I want to see what I can do for scripting, I can see all these different options. So this is another way to support my team. If I'm talking to them a lot and they tell me they have a lot of challenges doing something specific, I can come in here and just say, hey, are there any apps? Or I can look through it by product. What apps are available for, let's try Bitbucket. I don't come in here much. Ooh, I can make awesome graphs in Bitbucket. Cool. Now, installing these does require a site admin, so a certain level of permission. So if you come up in here and you click something like Get It Now, and you're not that site admin, you'll just get a notification saying, hey, we've let your admin know. Here we go. You must be an admin for a team to install awesome graphs. So this is where it can be frustrating. I've had team members find the marketplace on their own and then come with me and complain that it doesn't work. I was like, yes, that's because we're not admins. We can't make this decision. And the other thing to look for, again, some of these are free. Some of them are not. So I'll see if I can find a paid one. This one. Here we go. I've got to try it free and buy now. The nice thing is there's I was going to say there's a payment calculator. Well, fine then. Oh, look at that. I broke the marketplace. That's good. That's great. So some of them are free, some of them are paid, but this is another way to support your team and get more out of your cloud instance. Community.atlassian.com is the community link. And again, this is the main place I go for support, for encouragement, for ideas and information. And here I can see those 4 buckets. I mentioned I would talk about champions, which I kind of glossed over earlier. But Atlassian champions, I am one of them. I think Chad mentioned he's one. I don't know if there's any others on the call, but we are essentially volunteers who are more interested and want to drive our own events or drive our own communities to help get people interested in and connected with it. There are 2 tracks at this point. In the past, everyone was what's called a community champion. And the idea there was we host local events and share knowledge. They now have a success champion, and they're just piloting this out. But this is where you are an internal champion for Atlassian. So if you work in an organization with it, You could be a success champion. You don't have to go do big events and host things. Instead, you're working internally in your organization to drive adoption and make people feel supported and help figure out what's going on. So this is something, if you are interested, I recommend. It's a great group of folks. They know a ton of great stuff, super friendly. It is a bit of time to go do these things, but I get a lot out of it. I've learned a lot, met some great people, and have a bit of fun. Next up are the events. Again, we are in an Atlassian community event right now, but this is another way we can get support for cloud. So I'll just click Find Events, and this list will probably be pretty big. And I can scroll down, and I mentioned they're by region, so I can, what's going on in Asia Pacific. And these are all the locations that happen to have one. Frank is saying, by definition, his job is a success champion. It's an interesting term because depending on what we do for work, our job might be to help drive adoption or use of a system, implicit or not. So we can come through here and say, oh, I'm in the Philippines, I want to see what's coming up. And then I can see the events that are being scheduled. And again, these events aren't scheduled by Atlassian. They are scheduled by those champions. So people in Manila, in this case, who have said, hey, I want to host something about killer features of JSM. Oh, and I can load more. Here's an in-person event in October. I can go meet people, or September. Now, these chapters, you can join them. And so you'll join them, you'll get updates about them specifically, whether it's an email or invites. So if there is a local chapter for you, it's a good idea to come in here, find it, and then just click join. That way you stay up to date on what's going on. One thing I haven't mentioned is you do need a community account. You can see mine up here. And I mentioned earlier, I think I have 4 or 5 of these. Up until recently, your account was tied to your email permanently. So if you change jobs, you would lose your account. This is incredibly annoying. There are now ways to merge accounts, as Frank mentioned, I think. So if you happen to have multiple Atlassian accounts, you can now smush them together. That said, I have mine tied to a personal email. That helps make sure that it just follows me around. I don't have to worry about it. And Frank's saying, check if the events are upcoming or in the past. I'll just pick on Austin here real quick. Yeah, so I've got a list of upcoming and then at the bottom, past ones. Past virtual events can have a recording too. So for example, the recording for this session will live in here so other folks can find it. So those are champions and events. Again, a great way to get help. I'm very busy, Frank. Next, we'll take a look at Learn. And this is where I spend a lot of my time. I'm going to go just back to community.atlassian.com. Under Learning. This used to be called Atlassian University, but this is the official source of Atlassian's training. It's all free, which is great. They announced that, I think, last year at Team. But they've broken it into learning paths. So you can come in here and just browse, and they've got it broken up by product, Loom, Rovo, Trello, whatever. And then also by role. So at the bottom, we've got admin skills. So if you're in a position, where you have to administer these systems, they have a track for you as well. It's not just for end users. I did mention, though, Atlassian doesn't only have their own products like the technical stuff. They also think through different ways of using the tools and different non-technical tools we can use to support our teams. For example, agile practices and project management. So they have training in here on these things as well. So when I think of Atlassian Learning, it's not just, how to use Jira, like which buttons to push. It's how can I use it to be more effective in my role as a project manager, for example? Or how can I improve collaboration? And I really appreciate this approach because my job isn't just to use Jira. It's not just to push the buttons to move work items. It's also how to, build an effective team or collaborate or run meetings. So again, check out Atlassian Learning, great place to go. Within it, they have a section on certifications. And so again, for the ACA-915, if I scroll down, I can see all the associate certifications. And here is ours, the one we're working on right now, the Cloud Foundations. And I can go in and learn more. And there's a lot of great stuff in here, again, for every certification they have, where we can go in and see, here's what I have to learn. It's $100. I get up to an hour, how long it's valid, how to sign up for it. So again, wonderful resource for any kind of learning, whether it's the technical how do the buttons work, or I want to learn a certification, or I need help with process and systems. The last section of community I'll dig into is the forums. And again, this is what I think of kind of by default when I think of community, if it's going to load. And this is just like any other forum you may have been on. I can come in here and search for something. Actually, let's see what ACA-915 brings us. And I can see all the results that relate to it. These also show up in Google results. And again, this is how I found the Atlassian community. I was Googling for answers and I just tripped over, these in the Google search. But this is a great place to go just to get information. The thing to keep in mind, double check the posting date, because this goes back, this one not too far to 2024, but some of these can go back pretty far and they might be out of date. Now up at the top, there is an ask a question button, and this is where probably the best place to go for us to get support is to come up and hit ask a question. You'll just pick the product and then you can type in your question. So this is the great way to get help with anything you need, because other folks like myself are floating around in there and will jump in and help you out if you need it. All right, curious what questions there are on the community before we jump over to Atlassian Success Central, that thing that I didn't know existed up until recently. And I think I'll even have to Google it. There we go. So Atlassian Success Central is just success.atlassian.com. I'll drop that link in there for y'all. And also, again, just a reminder, we've got that Discord server. Pop on in there for more live chat. Again, this was new to me, so I had an interesting time exploring it. But I can see at the top it's broken down by products. So let's pick on, I guess, Jira Software. I know what that is. And then I can see all of the related content. So again, this is talking about IT solution management, ITSM, but also how Agile can work, how to secure REST APIs. So it's a big mix of technical and non-technical things. Oh, here we go. HIPAA compliance. This is a US specific regulation. So if I have questions about that, I have guidance. Excuse me. And again, this isn't necessarily just how to set up Jira to do this. It's also, what is this topic about? Why is it important? What kind of things fall into it? So we don't have to learn too much about HIPAA right now. But I've started to look at this a little bit more just to see what's in here and what information Atlassian is providing everyone for it. And then if I open up solutions, this for me is where it gets a little bit more conceptual. I was going to say philosophical, but that's wrong. But what kind of practices can I work on with my team to build something? Oh, exactly one. What solution guides are there, etc. So there's just another resource we have to help us figure out how do we support our folks in cloud. All right, back to our slides. I have two left. This QR code will take you to a discount link for a 4-hour Confluence course I've put together. I built it out wondering what would have been useful for me to know when I first started using Confluence. So it covers everything from how to make a page to what is a space admin to how to use the content hierarchy. It does have to be refreshed because the wonderful UI has been updated since I made it, but all the concepts and ideas work, and it was done in Cloud Premium. So if you're curious to learn more about Confluence, a great resource for y'all, and I'll also put that link in here. And otherwise, what is next? That was our second out of 5 sessions for the ACA-915. Next week, we're going to dig into the products and how they integrate. So that'll be June 6th, next Friday. Between now and then, if you're going to take the exam, please make sure you're making time to study. Go through Atlassian Learning and just see what they have for the 915. Jump into your own instance and start poking around. Review the recording. Hopefully, you've been taking notes if you plan on taking the exam. But also, get hands-on. I mentioned that one. Check out other people's content, talk to other folks about it. If you have folks in your organization who use Jira or Confluence or whatever, chat them up. Even better, go find the org admin, probably on your information technology team, and start talking to them about how does cloud work? How is this different than data center or something else? But the more perspective and more information you can get, the stronger your skills will be. And if you're taking the exam, the easier the exam will feel because you'll be even more ready. You'll have more information to go. Also, please feel free to shoot me an email, robert@heen.tech. I'll be happy to respond to questions or see if I can find more information. And that's about all I have for today. So again, if you like this, please like and subscribe, but also let me know what else you want to do with that survey. And I'll see you next Friday. I'll keep the line open for a little bit. I'll double check to see what questions I might have missed. So if you've got any last minute ones, just drop them in here. And otherwise, have a great week, and I'll see you soon. Yes, I need to go look up release tracks. Thank you, Justin and Frank, for that one. Oof. Sarah, a DC to cloud migration with 500 documents. That must take a lot of time, my friend. Justin, Sarah, Scott, you're welcome. And thank you all for sticking around and learning about cloud support with me. Sarah, you're welcome. What about a JSM portal, Chad? I'm going to assume you're referring to feedback for me, and that is definitely on my list of things to do. Oh, it may not allow you to post links, Justin. YouTube is good at scrubbing them, sometimes too good. Unless you're referring to our Discord. I don't see any links from you, so... Chad was building a literal wall. Yep, I remember that bit. All right, folks. I think we're caught up. Please continue the chat over in Discord. I'll be hanging out there and available along with about 120 other folks. And otherwise, thank you again for joining, and I'll see you next Friday as we continue our learning about the 915. Ooh, need to learn how to make a JSM portal, Chad. All right. I can continue that in Discord. You need a Jira Service Management project, and they come by default with their own portal. But I can walk you through those steps over on the server. You're welcome, Frank. Have a great day. I can't tell. Is that someone looking at me through a wall, Chad? Or is that the sun? I think that's the sun peeking through clouds. I'll go with that. All right, folks. I'm going to leave you here. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon.